Hello everyone and welcome to D&D News. I'm Greg Tito. I am going to be talking at you for about an hour about all the fun stuff that's going on in Dungeons & Dragons Town. That's what I like to call our little community here in the world. Dungeons & Dragons Town. Welcome if you've never been to D&D Town before. I am the mayor of D&D Town, and I would like to give you your first quest, which is go slay some demons with this mug. If you can find one. They're out there somewhere. I am excited because it is Eberron and Rick and Morty release day. That's right. Everywhere you can purchase these fantabulous books. This one is available only in game stores or through game stores. It is an alternate cover that is designed by Vance Kelly. And this one is a fantastic cover that is available everywhere. You'll see this artwork wherever you find wonderful books and tomes for you to enjoy. The Warforged is a race that you can play in Eberron or bring it into any D&D game, homebrew or otherwise. It's up to you because you are the dungeon master. You are in control. And Warforged are prominent throughout this book, and in the artwork you'll see one there on the inner cover. I like many people do, I like reading the credits to see my name, which is one of the first things I do when I open up a new D&D book. But then the second thing that I do is read the disclaimer on these, and I don't think I've spoiled or talked about these before, but I'm going to tell you what the spoiler is for, or what the disclaimer is. It's just kind of a funny joke that fell into occurring on each one of our Dungeons & Dragons books that we published for 5th edition. That's a good question for Chris Perkins as to why these disclaimers started to get written the way they were. I think it's pretty funny. But this one is actually written in character, which is not uncommon in these disclaimers, but I liked the flavor of this one, so I wanted to share it with you. Disclaimer. Published by the brilliant gnomes of House Civis, this illustrious tome exposes truths you won't believe about the last war. You might think that's enough to satisfy you, dear reader, but there's more. This book also contains dice-fueled rules for reenacting thrilling events in the world of Eberron, dice not included. Also, don't forget to recharge this book's magic with a dragon shard about once a week. If you don't, the book will turn back into a potato. Well, that's good to know. Make sure you get your dragon shards in line for recharging this tome. Otherwise, it will turn back into a potato. I had no idea that D&D books were made from potatoes, so I'm learning a lot with this release of Eberron Rising from the Last War. Pretty fantastic. I see a lot of folks are throwing things in here, entering amazing, wonderful things, and that is for this little packet that we are giving away. 3 of them here on D&D News. We'll do a few of those. These are Young Adventurers Guides to Character Creation. It comes in a little silver, or let's call it a platinum folder right here. And these were made to promote the Young Adventurers Guides that are awesome, and here I am ruining this one. So that I won't be able to give this particular one away. But I wanted to just kind of show out what you're going to be able to get when you put in your code to the chat. And I see a lot of people doing it. It is !adventurer. And here it is. Here's all the things. You get introduction, how to fill out your character sheet. Ready to build your character? First page, second page. Basically goes through and talks about all of the fun stuff that is on each one of our character sheets. And again, these are meant to categorize and get people working with the character sheet, because when you are a new player, sometimes that is the first thing that you are presented with is, here's your character sheet. And then you look at it and you're like, what do all these things mean? Well, these fill all that out. And then it also includes this handy dandy document, which gives you a class flow chart for how to decide what class that you would want to be. And it gives you some questions, and if you answer those questions, it might put you in one of the 6 classes that are shown out here. And this is actually excerpted from the Warriors and Weapons Young Adventurer Guide that was released this summer. So this is a packet that you will get. We might even throw some other fun stuff in there just in case. These are wonderful gifts to bring folks into the fold for everything that's happening with D&D, because as we're finding out, more and more young kids are joining in, and they need a guide, and these Young Adventurers guides do just that. And I'm excited to have these character class generating kits out there for more people in the world. So thank you everyone who's already joined, and then they're entering the giveaway, and you can type away as Moobot is telling you right now in the chat. Make it happen. We'll do a few drawings of those. I think we're going to be giving away 3 over the course of this entire hour. Speaking of which, we also want to highlight a lot of the fun stuff that's happening with Eberron. I talked a little bit about it already, but one thing that is very cool is the Artificer class. And then we have, as a demonstration of that Artificer class, here is the image for the Chapter 1 character creation. You might recognize this image. This was what we announced Eberron Rising from the Last War as being the cover, but we decided to shift and go to this image for the cover. But here it is in all of its glory, and that's the character of Vi. And she is an artificer. Not a necromancer at all. Artificer. So it makes perfect sense for them to be a big part of this Chapter 1. And there's 4 completely new classes that you can choose from in this book, including Kalashtar, Shifters, Warforged, and Changelings. As well, there are other races that you can choose, such as Goblinoids and Orcs, that you can use. Changelings, for those you don't know, are, and this is something I didn't know, they're shape changers that kind of are related to the... No, I'm sorry, that's the Shifters. The Shifters are related to the lycanthropic heritage. And I'm gonna be throwing this out there. I don't know too much about this Eberron world, and I am excited to delve into this book as much as anyone else is, to learn more about the lore, because everything that I have had from seeing the artwork that's on display, and here's the changeling changing their appearance. It's a cool looking piece of artwork there showing the actual transformation process. Everything I've seen, from the artwork to the elves that I have, the rules that I have consumed, just make me really excited to go into a completely new, different realm and jump into everything that's happening. So the races are the 4 new ones that I mentioned, but there's also variations of each of the player races that are available in the player's handbook, with a little bit of a Eberron feel to them by having dragon marks. You can still do that. Also within this chapter, and I'm trying to get to it so I can talk more about it. Here's the awesome look of what the dragon marks actually look like. Dragon marks are tattoos that are on the bodies of people. They are, we're all talking about the marks rather than going into there's another background. Here's the class. Dun, dun, dun. So yes, the Artificer class. It has everything that a full class has. It's the first class that's been introduced to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since it was released in 2014. So here we are, 5 years later, celebrating that 5th anniversary of 5th edition with a brand new class, and I am here for it. Contrary to my friend Charlie Hall at Polygon, I don't think it's that scary for Dungeon Masters to want to jump in and have Artificers. There has been a long playtest process to work with this class to make sure it felt on par with the classes that were introduced in 5th edition, as well as feeling completely new and different too. So a lot of great stuff. There's 3 subclasses in this book that you can choose from, including, where is it? I just want to make sure I get it right. There's, yes, Artificer Specialists. There's the Alchemist, the Artillerist, and the Battlesmith. The Battlesmith is the one that I am honestly the most interested in. Armies require protection, and someone has to put things back together if defenses fail. A combination of protector and medic, a Battlesmith is an expert at defending others and repairing both material and personnel. Sounds pretty cool. I love that idea of being a combined force. And then, of course, the Artillerist specializes in using magic to hurl energy, projectiles, and explosions on a battlefield. This destructive power was valued by all armies of the last war. Now that the war is over, some members of this specialization have sought to build a more peaceful world by using their powers to fight the resurgence of strife in Corvair. The gnome artificer Vi, an unlikely yet key member of House Cannith's Warforged product, has been especially vocal about making things right. It's about time we fixed things instead of blowing them all to hell. Yeah, good quote. Good quote there. Tons of character. That's what I love about this book, as well as basically all of the 5th edition books, but we keep getting better at it, is that the writers and designers imbue so much storytelling within the rules themselves. They're inseparable. They are working together, and they feel like they're in the same kind of feel. So I love that. And the alchemist. The alchemist is an expert at combining reagents to produce mystical effects. Alchemists use their creations to give life and to leech it away. Alchemy is the oldest of artificer traditions, and its versatility has long been valued during times of war and peace. Good stuff. Yes. They have so many fun things. You know, as a alchemist, you have an experimental elixir, which gives a table of 6 different things. You know, for all of you that have a D5 out there, 6 different things that your experimental elixir could do, some of which are good. Actually, all of them are good. They're just different good. You might not need them. But there's one that's flying, which is fantastic. I want more flying to be happening in my game, I can tell you that much. And there's lots of different items that you can use as being part of an infusion. There's new rules for that, as well as tons of tables around it. One thing that's also very cool is group patrons. We talked about this a lot when we first were talking about what made this book really cool. And group patrons look awesome. It's basically codifying and putting some mechanics behind the idea of a primary quest giver for your group. And it is fantastic. Some examples of patrons are an adventurers guild, and this one says the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. You could be a crime syndicate, a dragon marked house, of which there are plenty. They all have the different dragon marks that have been basically the corporations or companies within this capitalist society. A head of state could be a patron. An inquisitive agency, a military force, a newspaper, religious order, or a university like Morgrave University. I personally love that whole Indiana Jones kind of idea of a museum sending out treasure hunters to collect artifacts from the last war and preserve them for history's sake. I love that kind of stuff. But there's some examples here of adventurers guilds, as well as crime syndicates. Basically all those categories that I just mentioned, there is a section on each one of them that gives you assignments, things you might want, tables to talk about the types of crime that the syndicate is known for, infamy, and then moves on to even more as far as what the houses are able to do. There is, similar to Waterdeep Dragon Heist and the different missions that could be taken on by the factions in the early chapters of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, there are these house missions that has a table here that don't have tons of detail to them. I'll show it real quickly. See the bottom left there. They're like, here are some of the missions that you could go on as a member of one of these houses, and it's like track down rare materials. Sounds like a really open-ended type thing, but sometimes that's the only prompt a dungeon master or even an adventuring party can need to go on adventure, and I think that's really cool. I will be talking much more about Eberron Rising from the Last War over the next few weeks, but I am excited for everyone to be able to jump in and play and experience these rules right now. There you can get them. You can order them. You can get them online. A lot of people are ordering them. I saw here. I want to make sure I get it right, so I'm going to look it up right now. But we pay attention. You know, obviously the Amazon lists are a little bit more up to date, as in they get published, kind of in real time. So we can talk through what those are happening. I recently heard that, and I'm just trying to make sure I check. I don't want the best-selling list of all time. Best books of 2019. New releases last 30 days. Trying to find the top list. I used to do this in a much different way. I am going to find it now. 1 second. I'm not going to stop until you know where we're at. Dang, there it is. It is. Well, it doesn't have a rank here, but Eberron Rising from the Last War is. It looks like it's higher than number 17. It was number 17 earlier today. Sorted by feature. Oh man. In any case, it was high up on the list for best books being sold right now. I think, like I said, I think it was 17. And the Rick and Morty box set, Dungeons and Dragons versus Rick and Morty, was also on that list. I think in the top 125 or so, and that'll be climbing up to the top of the list there. So, Jack says Eberron is the number 1 book of all time. Confirmed. Thank you, Trish Yoakum. Number 12 on bestseller for books. Also, a shout out to Trish, who did a lot of work on the graphic design and layout for all of our products, but especially for these, and did a great job. So, hi Trish. Thanks for everything you do. I'm glad you're watching. I'm glad. I knew it had climbed up higher. It was at number 17 earlier, and so it's good to get the note that it is at number 12. Good stuff. And thank you for that reminder, Hanselman. Absolutely. You can only get this awesome cover in and through game stores right now. So that is reason alone to jump in and try to get this. It is a soft kind of touch feeling book. It doesn't quite have... it's got that shininess thing going on that I absolutely love. I don't know if the lights in here can... Yeah, you can really, it almost looks like lightning when I do it that way. Lightning scorching across the sky, hitting this airship, and it is going to go down. Beep. Destroyed. Great stuff all around there. And it's not just me saying that. There is a whole bunch of press talking about these amazing books that I want to give you some shout outs to take a look if you're interested in finding out more about them. So I'm going to kind of go backwards here. It looks like actually all the reviews are already kind of posted and aren't part of this. But not just press about these books, but in general, how about this amazing story from the New York Times? In a chaotic world, Dungeons and Dragons is resurgent. Now, D&D appears to have been resurrected as if by a 17th level necromancer and is luring a more diverse fan base. How cool is that article? Go read it if you haven't already. Rivals of Waterdeep were prominently shown on the visuals, so photographs that were taken from the most recent taping of Rivals of Waterdeep when it was first posted. So not just last weekend, but the weekend before when everyone is in Chicago. And the article written by Ethan Gilsdorf, great friend of the brand. And actually, quick kind of personal story about Ethan. I met him and Shelly Mazanoble for the first time at PAX East 2010, maybe 2011. This was back when I was on the press side of things, and the two of them were gracious enough to appear on a panel that I had pitched. I actually don't even really remember what the panel was about. I think it was some type of combination of tabletop role-playing game as well as things. So I've known Ethan for a long time, and his writing is kind of inextricably linked with my own kind of career here at Dungeons & Dragons, and it's great to see him write this article and get across so many great things about what's happening with Dungeons & Dragons right now, including the amazing amount of people who are jumping into this hobby from all walks of life, all backgrounds, really just underlining how much we here at Dungeons & Dragons are excited to open the doors and let everyone be a part of this community and just enjoy telling the kind of stories that the D&D rules provide a framework for. So much thanks to Ethan, to the New York Times, but mostly to you, the community, for being so awesome that it made writing and getting the word out about this article just so easy. So thank you to all involved there. If you haven't read that article yet, share it wherever you can. Let people who are at least interested in what's happening in the Dungeons and Dragons fandom that you're participating in. It's a great way to show, hey, look, this is a real big thing. It's happening, and we're in the New York Times, and you can kind of see it. On top of that, I would like to show off a little bit more about the awesome Sapphire Anniversary dice set. So here we have an article from Forbes. Make these deluxe D&D dice the literal jewel of your collection. And it's a sign of the popularity and growth of the game to have these lab-grown or non-mined or magically created sapphire gems be a part of an amazing dice set. I don't have them physically right here in front of me, but they are quite beautiful and roll very well. One thing, I mean, they're metal dice or aluminum dice. But sometimes when you have aluminum dice or metal dice that are heavier, not aluminum, you can roll them and say you're rolling it on a map or on a document that you want to kind of keep and preserve. But the heaviness of the dice, along with the pointy edges, puts little divots in your materials, and those divots are really hard to iron out or get rid of. But with these dice, they're a little bit lighter. They still look really, really beautiful, and they are not as heavy, so they won't produce those type of things. And so let me show you. Wait, I am gonna have a video of what these dice look like that I want to show it to you now. All right, there we go. Did you guys hear me at all through that? I'm not sure if you did. I think my audio was off, honestly. But I was basically just saying everything that you guys were saying in chat here. We're like, oh yeah, those look good. All right. Excellent. So, nope, you didn't hear anything. All right, well, they look, I was just echoing everything that you guys said. My favorite bit of that video is as it's turning around kind of near the end, the D6 kind of wobbles a little bit. So that's how you know it was real. It's not just computer animation, people. Those are real dice getting a little bit funny things. Great. So those are going to be on sale starting Thursday, November 21st at, I believe we said 10 a.m. Pacific time. There's a limited number available to the public. There's only 1,974 that will be available for everyone. Those are the numbered sets. They are going to, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how, I really hope folks jump in and love them as much as I've seen the chat kind of go crazy about how beautiful they look. They are quite beautiful, and it's a commemorative story. You'll get the game rules as well as the beautiful art for including Sapphire Gem Dragons in your game, which I just find really fascinating. I hope that's a jumping off point for more things like Gem Dragons entering into the D&D multiverse, but they are pretty fantastic, and Level Up Dice does a great job, and I think you're going to really love that dice set when you're able to take a look at them. All right, I am going to move now to D&D Rewind We are going to talk all through some fun stuff, but here is our chance to show off what is really cool about all the different role-playing groups that are here on twitch.tv/D&D, not to mention all of the fun folks here in chat. So let's take a look where we can see what happened this week on Twitch for D&D.
This is the eye of one of the most powerful, one of the most evil wizard liches who has ever walked any of the planes.
Wow, it was really easy to get.
That must be why I could not gnaw off the little dangler.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Can we hear you out on the other ship that's not about to fall?
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, we can talk about it over there when we're not plummeting to our death, yes.
Yeah, let's not plummet. I mean, I want to see my friends, but let's go.
My friends, be aware, if any get this, it will spell the end of civilization as you know it. This should not even be in Waterdeep.
Should I swallow it?
Do not put it in your body in any way, shape, or form.
Riff can handle it. I believe in him.
No.
It will take over the thing that it comes into contact with. Keep it away from your head.
Probably not even spiced right for eating. Come on, let's go.
Very well.
You take a look around. Beth didn't flush.
Ew. Here.
She should have specified. She didn't specify.
Did you not wash your hands?
You take a look around. You notice there's an air freshener plugged into
Don't
one of
you
the walls.
touch me with those pee hands.
Smells like lavender.
If it's yellow, let it mellow.
I would like to take the air freshener and flush the toilet.
All right, you flush the toilet. Roll. You heard me, Jerry. Roll it. Roll the die.
What am I rolling?
Roll that D20.
For
roll it.
For
Just
a
tell me
toilet?
what the number is on the. Tell me what the number on the die is, Jerry.
All right, Jesus. What am I adding?
Just tell me what the number
It's
on
a
the die is.
16. It's a 16.
All right, it flushes.
Jesus, what?
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 I asked you to roll a die. You told me what was on it. I told you what happened. That's how D&D works. You flush the toilet. You got the air freshener. Anybody else want to try the toilet?
I don't want to wash my hands in the sink.
All right, go ahead. Roll it.
14.
Yeah, you wash your hands.
Okay.
No problem. Nothing bad happens.
Directly towards the rock monster, and then the camera switches and it cuts to both Rin and Shaka looking back behind them because they're both kind of discombobulated, and they're looking and they see that rock monster, and then they see the rock monster's body, and like it's just a giant long worm belly, but in that belly it looks like it's pregnant, it looks like it's a chest buster, and through there is this arrow, and it just comes out of this rock monster. The worm falls down dead on the ground.
Yes.
Like on Ash's screen, like an achievement.
Sniper.
Long shot bonus.
Because you said that, I have a feeling that my 25 perception did not locate that there are, in fact, at least one person in that other room.
My goal, when I speak to you as Dungeon Master, expressing the things you can see and hear and smell around you, is to provide contextually relevant information based on what your character is capable of perceiving. My goal as a person is to make you feel constantly at unease and uncertainty about your situation.
I'm going to put you on the other side of a door, and I'm going to like breathe and shuffle around. And
No, see, but this is the thing that we cannot do. It's the one disadvantage that we have of playing in a virtual environment is that 99.9 to the infinitum % of Dungeons and Dragons games, given enough time, will eventually devolve into that argument where they're like, I could lift 400 pounds. What are you talking about? And then somebody gets up from the table and they're like,
do an experiment. We're doing an experiment. Ready?
Okay, here we go.
I've opened the door.
Okay, all right.
I'm closing it. Hello. It's me.
But, you know, then we had to take it to...
On stream. Hi, Mum. What'd you get?
You heard every word.
Every word.
Every word.
Did you hear my mum?
No.
No, why I was shouting.
Yeah, no, we only
heard
heard
hi,
you.
Mom.
I don't know what other benefits are being offered there except an incredible experience with Deborah Ann Wall DMing. Like,
Yes.
you can sit in
And it's
the
a great
audience
cause.
and watch Deb DM and be inspired. There was a video apparently that the only reason I know this went out yesterday, Lost Odyssey on Instagram has been publishing a bunch of these short little documentaries, interviews that they did with all of us. And it must have been yesterday or the day before.
Right.
But there was a video that I started getting texts from my friends, like people I haven't heard from in forever. They were like, Kate, your moment. I had this moment where I was like, that was my first slate. Because and I got a text from a friend who was like, that first slate thing was so cute. I was like, what are you talking about? And finally I remembered as they're doing these documentaries downstairs here in the office, they were interviewing us. And they brought the slate out and been like, okay, take one, slate. And the slate goes away. And there's this picture of me like, that was my first slate. And they kept it in. Like, oh, great. Cool.
Oh, that's
cool,
really
cool.
sweet.
It was I look so happy in this video that I've had my first slate.
It's hard not to.
It was so exciting. It was my first slate.
I do believe Neasta had one more thing to say before the match started.
Oh, yeah. No, she had a yell.
Let me tell you what I think about these so-called rules in these matches. These rules were put in place to protect the weak, to give them an unfair advantage, and to make them look good against a stronger opponent. So I don't believe in these rules. I believe in a fair fight and strength.
Wow, a lot of different kinds of energy coming off of that promo.
I feel that, but I agree. I don't like these rules. I think we should just do away with them and just get nasty.
Well, I mean, that is certainly a perspective we can take.
Yasta.
Ah, the puns.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good. That D&D wrestling show is one of my faves. I love that everyone at RPG, Hyper RPG has been putting together everything for the Eberron book in support of the wrestling things. You can join in the fun there at Hyper RPG. I don't know. Everything about that thing has been beyond my expectations, and they are rocking it out of the park. There's been a lot of excitement from the sports entertainment crew who dovetail a lot with everything that's happening. I got some Venn diagrams here going on, and it is I'm hoping more and more guest stars from WWE from other different places want to jump in and be a part of that, because it's rocking it. But yeah, so many things to unpack from that entire D&D Rewind. Kudos to everyone who was a big part of it. If you want to jump in and nominate some great moment from role-playing, whether it's super funny or emotional or just worked out really well and you want to highlight it, the best way to do that is through the Twitch interface. You can create a clip, share that clip over social media, maybe tag a few of the creators who were involved in that clip to get more visibility, and they'll retweet and make things happen. And then when Steve Sprinkles, our illustrious editor, puts it all together, a lot of that will rise to the top. Couple of moments. I think someone in here asked what a slate was. It was Zool asked what a slate is. Those are, you might have seen them in movies, but they're those 2D things that kind of look like a book, but then they have all the information of what individual shot is, and then a little thing goes up and clicks down, and that is to provide a visual cue for when the audio can get synced up with the video, and it's just called a slate. You're like, we're slating this. This is a shot 2, blah, 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 happening, and I watched that promo that Kate is referencing, and when it happened, I was like, oh gosh, they're using a slate and they're showing the slate right here, but her eyes do in fact just light up, and she is so excited, and then she says, this is my first slate, and it was wonderful. So that's what it's all about. It's a big part of the audiovisual crew, people who make TV, things like that, do those all the time, and I don't think well, no, that's not true. I think I've had a slate before in the past, but very, very rarely, and I share Kate's enthusiasm for making that happen. How great was Kate Welch? Both, I mean, just in general, Kate Welch is a treasure. She is the lead designer behind Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty box set tabletop role-playing game adventure. She has been promoting this in New York, in LA, traveling, talking about it to as many people as I will put her up for to spread the word about how great it is. She was on a live show last week here in Seattle that we filmed and is now currently up on YouTube on our D&D channel, so go check that out. She played Rick, and I'm loving all of the impressions, the meta nature of this game, and that people are playing as the character from the Rick and Morty show, playing as a D&D character, and all of the interplay between there. I love that there is a character called Meatface, which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the Rick and Morty show. Quick note, that was a placeholder name that eventually became the actual name, and it allows the cast members to react to Meatface, and I especially love how Kate, as Rick, kept giving high fives to Meatface during the live show. Meatface was played by Ryan Hartman from Actors Incorporated, the C-Team. The entire cast of that did fantastic. And everyone on D4 did a fantastic bang-up job. And as I believe I saw in here, that is going to be posted to their YouTube page very soon. So if you're interested, check that out as well. I can't wait to see how so many different people are going to be jumping into playing this brand of Dungeons & Dragons. It's very different from Eberron. It's just kind of funny that they all kind of happen at the same time, but I love it, and there's a lot more out there to come. And I can't wait to see more people jump into it and talk about how they might have brought in people who are new to the Dungeons & Dragons hobby through this game. I opened this last week. I don't think I'll open it up again unless I run out of time talking about things. There is no Adventurers League news today, although I did want to state that in honor of this Eberron release on Dungeon Masters Guild, there is a site-wide sale for all things Eberron to celebrate the new book release. So if you're interested in finding out more from our creators about Eberron, jump into Dungeon Masters Guild right now and see what is available. There is a lot there, and I know Adventurers League is working on releasing a new campaign set completely in Eberron, different from other Adventurers League campaigns that will have a beginning and a middle and an end. They're already writing all the adventures to have a conclusion, a strong conclusion, so that it feels like your player characters got to experience that, and then they'll move on to presenting other ones. It's a bit of a new and different thing for D&D Adventurers League, and we're really interested in finding out more about how players react to that. So check that out. I saw some people in here asking about the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron and Eberron Rising from the Last War, the interactions there. All of the stats and mechanics that were updated for this release are now being updated anywhere that you purchased Eberron, the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. So if you had a mechanic or a class or anything, it will be the most up-to-date version available to you. Everything that is true in Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron will be consistent with this release. You'll just get a lot more content from this book. It's basically 150 to 100 pages more content is in Rising from the Last War, so you can check it out. And as Lisa Penrose says here in the chat, Wayfinders is updated today, so you should be able to get the most revised rules both on Dungeon Masters Guild and anywhere that you bought it digitally. Yeah, that should be amazing for you. There was a lot of content there in that book, and that's still what you paid for, and then you get even more if you end up purchasing this Rising from the Last War book. Okay, yeah, as Snap Dead, they are thick, but I think it's FTHIKK. No, CC? ECCCCC. All right, so hey, let's do another round of drawings for the Young Adventurer's Guide to Character Creation. We will be giving away 3 copies of that. It is a little packet for you to give to folks who may be interested in filling out a character sheet and getting basically like a primer on how D&D character sheets work, what they all mean, where you can find your armor class, where you can find your initiative, things like that, what that means, what a saving throw is, as well as references as to where they are in the player's handbook. You'll also get a nice little class flow chart that can let you decide what kind of class makes the most sense for you. So yeah, let's do that and figure it out. 53 total were in the entries, so check it out if you can. All right, so I wanted to go back into so many things, but I wanted to show off. We talked a little bit about the Droam and Defiance wrestling show that is on Hyper RPG. Again, a completely different flavor of Dungeons and Dragons being presented there. It's as if a sports entertainment show like Glow or the WWE were presented in the Eberron world. So that's really exciting. I love the characters that the entire cast has put together. But that's just one of the bits that you can do in things like Eberron. There is another one that I want to highlight, which is called Dark Lanterns. It is being produced by the Saving Throw Show. They are using a different flavor, the group patron of a spy agency, an investigative intelligence agency, and it has a whole kind of 60s James Bond mod feel. So let me show you that intro right now to get you primed and ready. I believe 3 episodes are now currently released for the Dark Lanterns show. They're an hour each, low impact as far as time goes, and you should jump into them if you can. Here is that intro now. Again, such a cool flavor, totally different feel than everything. Yeah, as Ninja Theory Ashram says in here, your mission, should you choose to accept it. I love it. It is super cool. I believe the intro was created by Gaurav Gulati, who is the Dungeon Master for this amazing show. He was excited to jump back in, but it is really interesting. Jump back into playing. He was, of course, a cast member of the Broken Pact show that was on Saving Throw Show, Dungeon Mastery by Ruben Bressler. He played the member of the Azoria Senate, but he had Dungeon Mastering this and doing a fantastic job, and I can't wait. It is on Fargonaut YouTube. There are 3 currently episodes. We're dropping a new one each week on Mondays. There'll be some downtime between the holidays and whatnot, but there will be a 10-episode arc that will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's really exciting. So those are the type of shows that we have out there for you to get into Eberron. There is a lot of content circling around Dungeons and Dragons versus Rick and Morty, which I think is really cool. I would love to highlight some more of the press that came out around not just this. So this is our friend at the Seattle Times. They wrote this article because they came to our amazing event. You can see it in the image there. That's Kate Welch as Rick, as the Dungeon Master, along with Chris Graft as Jerry. You can see some of the hair of Anna Prosser there, as well as Jim Zub playing Morty. He did a fantastic job there playing Morty. But this is what the writer of this article said. No fuss, no scuffles, just 6 people, some dice, a happy audience, and a collective imagination. And that's fantastic because the writer of this, her name is Nicole Broder. She is not a fan of Dungeons & Dragons. She's never really played it before. Her son was really into it, and she interviewed some of us for the Seattle Times and was fascinated with the fandom, but this was the first time she got to see it played live, and it does what everyone how it does to everyone when they see it played live for the first time, and she was hooked. She really enjoyed it. She could understand the storytelling as well as the appeal of playing this in a way. So kudos to the Seattle Times for writing that up. That was fantastic. There was also some more written about it, as well as a preview from well, not necessarily from IGN, but you can look at the show that Kate Welch did at IGN. That is going up very soon, if not today. There was also a really great article from Gizmodo/IO9 about the preview event, basically saying there was never a dull moment, and it was great to take a break from the norm and embrace the silly, stupid fun of Dungeons & Dragons. GeekWire here in Seattle was also there, and it was impressive. They said, it's impressive how the D&D versus Rick and Marty box set manages to thread this needle between the two inspirations. And I think that is a really apt analogy or comparison or metaphor or whatever the heck it is, in that it really is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, to try to take the fandoms that are around Rick and Morty and the fandoms around Dungeons and Dragons and try to create a adventure and boxed set that encompasses both of them, and it feels true to both of those brands and ethoses. And I think Kate Welch and the team that she had working on this product really did it, nailed it to a T, and I couldn't be happier with it. And I don't think you have to be a fan of Dungeons. Well, it helps if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think you have to be excuse me, I'm doing that whole gross burping thing. It's on brand for talking about Rick and Morty. But I don't think you need to be a fan of the Rick and Morty show to really latch into and be a big part of this. For example, Hadil Al-Masari, who played one of the characters at the live show, she'd only played or seen a couple of the episodes, but she was able to jump in and get this whole meta nature feel of playing as a character, and still trying to solve problems in a completely absurdist world and dungeon that was created by the Dungeon Master Rick. So jump in, it's super cool, you can do it, and I want you to as well. All right, so I mentioned the dice. Those go on sale on Thursday. Those are super excited. Once you purchase those directly from Wizards of the Coast, the D&D Sapphire Anniversary Dice Set, those will get shipped out between 2 to 4 weeks for those of you here in the United States. There's 11 dice included in there. I think I saw someone say that there was a greatness to the standard of 11 dice being the number of what you get, 2 D20s, 4 D6s, and then one of each of the other polyhedrals. So that's super cool. Those will be numbered. They'll have an inlaid lab-grown sapphire in place of one of the 20s for the D20. All of the other ones have the ampersand as the highest dice value involved in them. There's going to be a sticker sheet that you can only get there, the small one. And again, it's going to be sequentially numbered, and a thank you note with signatures from each one of the D&D team on there, which is really neat. I mentioned and opened this before, but I want to make sure everyone knows there is a Clue Dungeons & Dragons game out there that is themed all for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. That's right, you can play Clue as not Professor Mustard or Professor Mustard? Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet. Yeah, I'm remembering some of these now. You will not be playing as those characters, but you can play as Minsk and Boo, and some of the other fun people, such as Silvira, Savikas, Lulu, and Slobberchops from the Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus story, as well as Rhea Mantlemorn. And you are on a quest to uncover who was slain and replaced by one of Zariel's minions. what weapon was used in the execution, and where the Hell-forged puzzle box can be recovered. So it's basically got all the same exact rules as the Clue that you grew up with, but it is completely reskinned, including new character artwork and the individual metal murder weapons are all themed for Dungeons & Dragons, including a greatsword, a demon longbow, silver claw, mastercraft scimitar, the horn of blasting, or the censer of remembrance. And we are going to get Tim Curry in on this, and he will be playing the butler because he buttles. We are excited about Extra Life, you guys. There have been more than $235,000 raised for Extra Life this year. If you don't know, Extra Life is the charity that supports the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals for kids. A lot of what we do benefits the Seattle Children's Hospital, that many of the workers here at WotC and in the Seattle area have brought their kids for various ailments, from a broken arm to more serious chronic maladies. These hospitals need your help. They need to be able to provide care to these kids. Many of them don't have insurance or are unable to pay for various reasons, but they also need a lot of help making sure that the experience at the hospital isn't terrible. They need to provide games and things for them to do in the downtime, because as anyone knows who's been in a hospital like that, there is a lot of waiting around, and being able to occupy a young one's mind with a game or an activity is extremely important, and it can be the difference between them getting their health care or not. And so one of the ways that these hospitals raise money is through this Extra Life charity. It began as a video game thing, playing video games for one day and getting donations, but it's been expanded to a year-long campaign for Extra Life as well as Wizards of the Coast. And I'm happy to say that while Dungeons & Dragons team has raised $235,000, as I said, Wizards as a whole, including our friends at Magic the Gathering, has raised $1 million, more than $1 million this year alone for the Seattle Children's Hospital. And that's amazing. Everyone that has contributed to Extra Life over the years, I applaud you. You are good people. A lot of them have donated to me on my page on Extra Life. I've given 100-word shout-outs on Dragon Talk. I just did that for a bunch of folks last week. I'll be doing more. You can still donate to that page right now, and I will read them live when I talk to Shelly Mazanoble this week, this Friday. You can check it out. We'll be doing a lot more interviews as well with folks who have donated $2,500 to Extra Life to be a part of that. I believe we've got one coming up this week that will most likely go out on the podcast later on, and then we're scheduling more and more of them. So you can still do that. You can still donate. I think it's $2,500 for an in-person interview here on Dragon Talk, $1,500 for a call-in appearance, and be a part of what is going on here at Dungeons & Dragons, raising money for Extra Life. Again, I am so excited for everyone who has been able to contribute, and we look forward to doing more and more next year. There are a lot of ways that you can contribute. You can, as I said, go to some of the D&D team members' pages and get some benefits through your donations there. You can also purchase some things. Dungeon Masters Guild has, I believe, 3 supplements up for sale right now that all directly benefit Extra Life and the proceeds going towards that. There is also a lot of other ways to make a big part of it. And not to be outdone, I wanted to give a big thanks to everybody who contributed and was at the Lost Odyssey event last Friday in LA. We talked about it a little bit kind of tangentially with Kate Welch being a big part of that as a player, but I saw so many wonderful, exciting folks who have been connected to D&D along the way. They're raising money for the Autism Society of America, so thank you there. I see Michaela Sims here in the chat. Thank you so much for being there and being a big part of it. Thank you to Dustin Fletcher for doing some dressing. I think you made TJ Storm's character look as awesome as he did. It was so cool to see Carlos Luna from Rivals of Waterdeep and Roll20 interviewing folks like Satine Phoenix and Kate Welch in the pre-game thing. And how awesome was Deborah Ann Wall as Dungeon Master? She is just a fantastic storyteller storyteller, and she continues to knock it out of the park with live events, and I'm more and more excited about this going forward. So kudos to everyone who was involved in that, and I can't wait for more and more members of this D&D community to create events and make things happen for all types of good causes and charities out there. We're getting excited about what's to come in 2020. I hope you guys are too. But let's take a moment to make sure that we're celebrating what is happening right now, including the release of Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty, the tabletop game adventure, as well as Eberron, Rising from the Last War. Both of these are in stores today. You can purchase them right now. And to end on this, I'm going to give away one more packet for D&D Young Adventurers Guides for Character Creation. Check it out. You will be able to give this hopefully to someone in your life, or just selfishly keep it for yourself, on how to fill out your character sheet and be a part of this Dungeons & Dragons community. The Young Adventurers Guides are a great gateway, and I believe there's a new one coming out in just a week. Now I need to consult my document to make sure to tell everyone about that, but I believe it is Wizards and Spells, and it is coming out here. Let me. Of course, the one time I want to find something, it's difficult to do. Why did I search for wizards in a document that's written about wizards? Who's the smart guy? Huh? That's me. No, I'm sorry. Dungeons and Tombs comes out on November 26th. So there's been 4 total planned. Monsters and Creatures is out. Warriors and Weapons is out, where this document comes from, or is excerpted from. Dungeons and Tombs comes out on November 26th, and then there is a 4th, Wizards and Spells, coming out March 10th, 2020. Look for everyone. Those 3 books that will be out next week on shelves, and they're great gifts to give to the young people and young adventurers in your lives. All right, that's it, everyone. Thank you so much. We did the last drawing, right? Everyone should be good to go for all that. If not, let's make sure to make that happen. I am excited for the future, but I'm also excited about the present and a little bit excited about the past. I am like the ghosts of D&D, past, future, and present. You can follow me on Twitter. Tell me how bad my jokes are and if my ramblings are terrible for you. You are all wonderful, and I will see you next week.